To fill up your thingy?
Put your thingy away.
But
What? No, don't put your no thingies on the advocacy show, guys. Come on, we talked about this.
Yeah, the first line you hear
You
is I
can't
gotta
flash the audience right away. You have to lead into it a little bit.
I wouldn't be me if I didn't flash the audience right away.
You have
Yeah,
to kiss them first.
That's I mean, I have seen Plumes of Hazard before, so that's true.
Exactly. It wouldn't be me if I didn't flash the audience right away.
Good
So-
evening, everyone on the Ohm page. Whoa.
Hello.
Hey, you know what? This works a lot better when you don't have the YouTube window for the live broadcast open on your other monitor.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I started hearing myself talking. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, I've done that before.
All right, let's try this again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Attainable Advocacy. We are just getting, we're screwing it up like I don't know, every live broadcast does, at least sometimes. My name is Jason Downing. I'm the president of Minnesota Vapors Advocacy and half of Taste Buddies. You can check that out at www.youtube.com/tastebuddiesreviews. We are not the couple from the Philippines who does food stuff. That's not us. Joining tonight, as always, my co-host Stefan Didak, the vaping Dutchman. Also, public enemy #1 in California right now.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm on someone's hit list.
Who else do we have here? You guys probably recognize Mr. Cully over there from Suck My Mod.
Dude, you're not supposed to tell people my last name. I have enough weird trolls.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
My bad.
kidding. Hi, guys.
And we have a couple other guests tonight, too. We have Mr. Understudy 77 from Plumes of Hazard.
I just woke up. I'm here. I wasn't planning on being here, but I am here. So hi. My dog's back there too.
Yeah, your dog's on the couch that I'm going to be sleeping on in 2 weeks, buddy.
What's that?
Your dog's on the couch I'm going to be sleeping on.
I know he's not supposed to be on the couch either. The jackass.
Boiling.
I'll yell it.
And then we also have Chris Hughes with us tonight, who is better known as Fat Cat Vapor out of Pennsylvania. Although it looks like he's frozen drinking of soda, so we're just gonna make fun of him here. Oh no, he's flailing around now. It's all good.
What's going on tonight?
I don't know what is going on tonight. What do you guys do? Matt, we know what Matt does. We kind of know what Sean does. We know what Stefan does.
Well, I'm
What do you do,
Stefan's
Chris?
understudy in Pennsylvania. I'm the co-president of the Pennsylvania SFATA chapter, and we are fighting a tax right now, a 40%, a wholesale cost tax that our governor has proposed, and we're going to win on that. And we also are fighting some other things, and while we're fighting those things, we're having a really good time doing it because it can be pretty easy when everyone gets together and gets organized. So.
For sure, absolutely. Matt, what are you doing for advocacy right now?
I am trying. Well, in our own state, we have everything just about buttoned up for the session. The Montana session, I forget when it ends, but I think we passed the deadline already, so there's not going to be any new bills. And then we have another 2 years, so there's going to be some planning here soon on getting a lobbyist. And then I'm just trying to do what I can on my channel as far as pumping people up and bringing awareness to the subject. Just doing whatever I can.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sean, how about you? What's rocking in Maryland right now? Anything?
Actually, not terrible news is rocking in Maryland right now. I just got an email yesterday from the House of Delegates in Maryland in HB 26. The Clean Indoor Air Act is being pushed to next year.
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats.
So next year they're going to be going over it. They want to work with interested parties to help regulate use and production. Kind of scary wording in the email that I got for it, but we have till next year for it. So I've been just assisting in the massive YouTube spam of SIGA-likes to try to up awareness and interest in advocacy.
Excellent. Yeah, in case you guys hadn't seen it, we'll just touch on that really briefly, and then we'll let Stefan blab about California since that was busy. Oh, and look, he's got his little cigalike. How cute.
Oh no,
You
more
guys have probably
cigarette.
seen you guys have probably seen a couple reviews this week of cigalikes. Kind of weird, right? From a bunch of reviewers. Twisted, Matt, Nick, us, if you watch Taste Buddies, So Much Vape, a couple other ones. Believe it or not, reviewers talk to each other, and sometimes we coordinate things. So that is
Actually
definitely a. What's that?
Oh, I said it actually does happen. We talk. Some of us are even friends.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I think all the cigarette vaping I've been doing this week has like killed some brain cells. Like the sucking so hard, I think I'm like popping some blood vessels or something.
You know, I was actually shocked at how bad the Views is.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like it's
Awful.
god awful.
Like I was expecting it to be kind of lousy. I mean, right? I started out when I started vaping, when I tried vaping the first time, it was with V2 cigs, right? The nice little 808s, and it was okay. And I cut back a little bit, but it didn't really work for me. I was at least expecting it to be that good, and man, was I ever wrong.
You know,
I think there's a case to be made that the Views is intentionally bad to keep people smoking. People will move off of cigarettes, combustible product, and move to the Views, and they will immediately move back because cigarettes actually taste better than a Views.
mm-hmm.
You know what? I can agree with that because my Views kind of tasted like a wet ashtray.
Well, I think that's really just the point of it. I don't think they want you to stay on the Views. I think they want you to give it a go and then say fuck this sucks,
Oh yeah.
and then go back to the cigarettes. I'm sure
And you know,
there's
it's funny because one of the yeah, what I thought was kind of weird is I think that one of the things that we pointed out anyway that I don't know, I haven't watched all of the reviews. I mean, full disclosure, but one of the things we pointed out was, you know, I have a problem with. I know there's a lot of people like the EU, for example, wants to completely ban open system, but I have a problem with not being able to do this and look at my liquid. You know, I mean, I kind of know what's in there. It's, you know, some wicking material and wire and stuff like that, but I find it a little bothersome that I can't dig in there and, you know, see what it looks like.
Well, you know, you want to talk about something interesting, something that I've learned about cigalikes throughout this week, and I'm sure everybody here will get a big kick out of this. So in the open system market, one of the big things that we put a lot of precedence on is making sure that the amount of nicotine is as advertised, right?
Yeah.
So if you get 0.6 or 6, 6 milligram, it's 6 milligram. 3 milligrams, 3 milligram. 24 milligrams, 24 milligram, and we're pretty, within like a 0.2% tolerance. So the blue that I purchased, let me know if this would ever fly in the open system market. Approximately 17 to 24 milligram.
What?
That's a big range.
Yeah.
That's like that's like damn near 25%. That's damn near 30%.
That would never fly in the open system market.
I wonder.
Never.
I wonder if we should grab one of those, squeeze some liquid out of it, and titrate it. I wonder if we should titrate it.
Yeah, the lab that makes my juice is buying one of those machines that does that, and because I mean with normal e-liquid, don't they try to stay within like 1 milligram up or down? But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's going to be even stricter than that probably.
Well, I mean, here's the hypothetical, right? Imagine you're looking at open system and your variance is 30%. Hey, I'd like a bottle of this flavor at 24 milligram. Oh shit, it's 32. Whoops.
Yeah. That's enough to give me a heart attack.
Hell, I had a hard enough time vaping 12.
As far as the whole week goes for this, I think some out of character-ish explanation is needed for a few people. The point of this was not to just review cigalikes. The point of this was not to bring a scare tactic to the table. The point of this was to give everybody a look at what could happen one possible ending that could happen from regulation in vaping, in the hopes that it would inspire them to get involved and try to make sure that that doesn't happen. Because the quickest way to that, the quickest way to what we've done this week being a reality, is apathy from people and not getting involved and not fighting. I mean, even a 40% tax, how many shops would that kill in Pennsylvania? How out of reach would that make e-cig products?
All of them.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All of them. Every single one of them will be dead.
You're talking about now the only option, the only thing that people are going to buy is what's at the gas station because it's the only thing that's affordable.
Yep.
Because everything else is out of range.
Well, no, they would also be able to buy things from online retailers, which is great. Online retailers are great and offer a tremendous selection of stuff, but they don't offer the support and community that brick and mortars give.
Agreed.
Brick and mortars give a place for people to come and talk about issues, talk about products, to sit. We have a lounge right over here. You guys can't see in my shop. We're with a couch and a TV, and we constantly have people in there. You know, it's just, it would be a travesty to lose that climate, that business climate in Pennsylvania. And it's not just a business climate, because really all of the shop owners that I've talked to in PA are their number one concern is their customers. They're not concerned about money. They don't give a shit. They just want their customers to stay off of combustible cigarettes.
Well, it would limit so many people's access to a product that could potentially save their lives too. Because people aren't going to go in, I mean, even if this stuff is there, people don't start vaping online. That's not unbelievably common. People start vaping, at least, in a brick and mortar shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that kind of pricing, you're limiting vaping to so many people to start.
Well, some people are just so narrow-minded about it, too. Like, some of the comments on the video that I made, you know, yeah, I got accused of the fear-mongering and whatnot, and then everyone else is just like, oh, I'm fine, I've stockpiled nicotine, and I've got enough batteries, and it's like, that's not the fucking point of this. Like, do you know... It's,
You know, I saw so many of those, too.
So terrible.
yeah.
Fine. You know what? I'll give it to them, though. 5% of current vapors will be fine. 5% of current vapors will find a way around whatever happens.
Right.
But every single person who has made vaping what feeds their families is now out of business and not feeding their families. Several of these people are my friends. I care about their livelihood. I care about them staying in business, and they're good business owners.
You care about me, buddy?
I do care about you.
Big hugs. Big hugs.
But you know, you're killing access to every new person who wants to get involved, every new person who's considering getting off of combustible cigarettes. You're killing them. Well, that's
a whole other generation of people just smoking instead of, you know, going to vaping.
And killing.
Well, and you know, here's something that we don't talk about very much in general, but I think we should, right? What we have in vaping, in B&Ms, and in our communities, the big thing in tobacco control is that, you know, nicotine replacement therapy works great when it's combined with behavioral support. Well, okay, sure, fine, whatever. And that's true. I mean, there's science behind that to some extent. So in vaping, if I am in, you know, for example, in my one of my Minnesota groups, there's 1,200 people there. And I know at least 100 vapors personally, at least, if not more. I have a support network of 100 real people and 1,000 people online that can say, hey, if you're having a rough time and you just can't make it, you feel like you want to smoke again, just say something. That's all you have to do.
Sure.
And you'll have this massive outpouring of support. Like, you can do it. You know, what do we need to get you? Do you need some different liquid? Do you need this other device? And vapors do that. You know, it's a completely different environment from smokers, or from smoking when we were smokers.
I never.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to continue vaping if I didn't have that support system.
I wouldn't have.
And also just the hobby side of it is what kept me so into it, and was part of what helped me quit as well. I know it's not like that for everyone, but there's a good amount of people out there that it's the hobby and the excitement of it is what keeps them off of cigarettes.
Well, and the community that's there to help. I never would have been able to stop smoking without both of those things. I successfully quit with cigalikes for 3 months and then went back. And this happened to me several times until I found the greater vaping community And until vaping started to boom with technology, and then I got interested in the hobby and met people who had my back, and then I quit.
These are absolutely brilliant observations that the community is what keeps this whole thing going, and it's never ceased to amaze me the amount of people that get into vaping that are evangelists. You know, I mean, I like to eat a lot. If you could see my stomach, it's really pretty big, large, and I love to eat. But you know, and I've had some nice slices of pizza, and I sometimes become evangelist for them. But literally, like 75% of people that I find from my shop that start vaping become evangelists for this product. And
exactly, and I think that's what some of these government officials didn't expect when they decided to crack down on all this shit. They thought, oh, they're just going to bend over like the smokers did, because we were ashamed to be. Smokers are ashamed. They know it's bad. They know they're killing themselves. With this, it's like it's life-saving. We're proud to be vapors, and I don't think they expected as much backlash as they've gotten. Obviously, we need to do even more, but
well, I also don't think they expected the rapid decline of MSA funds either. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Oops, yeah, it happened.
Yeah, no, Matt's absolutely right, and Matt, I can't praise the videos that Matt and Twisted 420 and Nick did. I don't watch a lot of reviews anymore because of my thing, but I was saying that I was saying to Matt earlier that I really enjoy his videos because I enjoy his personality a lot, and he does not everything that I think he does is rebuilding stuff. I mean, I own a shop, and quite frankly, I couldn't build a coil if you held a gun to my head. I clear coil, and I'm proud of it. Everything I have here is all Clearos tonight.
What an amazing excuse for basically saying what you're wanting to say, which is, I only watch because V is on.
No! You know what?
Because I don't have any personality. I have
you have a lot of personality, and I watch, but V's not on that often. Matt's wife's pretty good looking, so I'd like to see her. So. But no, he does have great.
He must be kind of cool if he can bag that hot chick.
Yeah, well, he must be, but no, it's tremendous to see reviewers stepping up and helping with advocacy, and I think right now it almost seems like in the last couple of weeks even something's changed and a switch has been flipped, and reviewers are getting very involved in advocacy and understanding that the dangers that we face are really grave. I mean, ultimately at the federal level, the worst danger is taking our whole industry away and handing it over to the tobacco industry, and we just can't let that happen.
And you know what? I don't want to completely say I told you so, but Matt and Candy had Luke and I on the reviewers queue a few weeks ago. Well, probably 2 months ago or so now. And one of the things that I said during that was that it's my belief that as reviewers we do have somewhat of an obligation to go and do these things because we have the ear of the community. I mean, at least online, right?
Yep.
We've got a huge number of people, thousands and thousands, hell, tens of thousands if you factor in everybody, tens of thousands of people that, for whatever fucked up reason, care about what we have to say.
Well, not only the reviewers have kind of started getting more active, but I've just noticed as a whole the community cares more. Last year it was kind of like everybody was crying wolf, and people thought it was still far off and. People just didn't care as much. Now, I'll put up an advocacy video and it'll get, as many views as a review, which it didn't used to be like that. So then that keeps us pumped up to continue, staying active with it.
I do want to take a second.
I have a suspicion, though, Matt, that you and Nick and Twisted 420 and everyone else that's going to participate in this week would still do it if you thought you were going to lose views off it or anything.
Oh yeah, we still definitely. It's refreshing to see more and more people care, and obviously it's because it's getting real. Shit's happening in their state, and so
bring a little bit of light to some of those the smaller guys too, just because this is really a huge effort, and I want to give a couple shout outs to So Much Vape, Cheeksy, Flitzanu. Robert Ellis, Ruby Roo, her video has gone up. I'm looking at a thread of people who have posted their videos. Candy McCann, the guys from Inside Vaping use Cigalikes their whole show, which is a hell of an achievement. Um,
That's dedication.
The
Those
massive-
Friends of Hazard guys are okay as well.
well, thank you. And Taste Buddies did it.
Aw.
But the massive amount of support for this idea, and thank you to a guy, Andrew, for the idea.
Hell
That's
yeah.
my best friend in the vaping industry, by the way. Andy from Vapor Trail is my absolute best friend. I wouldn't be sitting in the shop right now if it weren't for him.
Is that the Andrew who had the idea?
Yes, he did.
No shit.
He Vapor Man. Matt saw him up there. He was Views Man, and he did an
I didn't
incredible.
realize it was that Andrew. That's
Yeah, that's my absolute best friend. He and his partner CJ.
Yeah, him and CJ are cool guys.
Or a knife blade. I love them so much, and they're so smart, and they've just been bitten by the advocacy bug, and it's amazing. It's really helping us all. It's
I honestly did not realize it was CJ and Andrew that had the idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, so many people have done this, and that's so freaking cool.
Well, do you know what I think is actually really funny is the entire reason that we are sitting here talking right now is because of my review channel with Luke. Luke had originally come up with this idea to do like a little 5-minute segment once a week and just say, hey, come out and talk about advocacy stuff. And I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. We can run with that. And then I started talking with Stefan a bit, and we kind of went, well, actually, why don't we just do this instead?
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to
So
give
that's how Attainable Advocacy came into being. Yeah, Luke gets major props because this show was his idea, ultimately.
He's kind of a dick, but it was a good idea.
We're all kind of a dick.
It's true, he is kind of a dick, but that's fine.
And dude, it was out of the blue. It's just, hey man, Stefan and I want to do an advocacy show on the own page. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. I'm down.
Yep.
Let's make it happen. Because it's cool for me because we have two very advocacy-heavy shows. And we're at a point in vaping where we need two very heavy advocacy shows. And there's not a lot of other guys doing it, and we have a bit of reach, so it's awesome that we get to do two advocacy shows on the own page and two shows about such important shit.
So, hey, funny story about that. Why don't we talk about some advocacy?
Yeah. We talked a little
Except
bit
like current, like immediate, like current stuff.
I want to know about California.
Yes. Yes.
Well, okay, fine.
What, something happened in California? Was I there?
I heard about it.
Yeah, I want to know about this because I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it yet, and I really want to know about it.
Okay, so yesterday we had a Senate Health Committee hearing on a bill known as SB140, introduced by Senator Leno, and I've been working on the bill analysis, the talking points, the lobbyists, the instructions, and everything that goes along with it. So they decided, you know what, once we're carving out the 3 speakers, you should be one of them. Much did I know, I ended up being face-to-face with Professor Glantz, who was sitting like 5 feet away from me. And he was trying to psych me out by looking at me and staring at me. And everybody's...
Did you throw spitballs at him?
No, I just kept on point and did what I planned to do. And
I said that you should have asked if he would move away because his cheap cologne was causing you respiratory distress issues. I thought that would have been brilliant, but that was too much.
No, I just stuck to the script and did what I had to do. And everybody afterwards asked me, like, how did you do that while Glantz was like staring you down? And I'm like, I haven't slept in 3 days. Nobody can fucking psych me out, especially not him.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, so Senator Leno did his pitch, and he basically screwed a whole bunch of things up. He basically misinterpreted the Sotera case, brought in the whole, the minors. The 3 witnesses he had in testimony for his testimony basically said the same shit we all hear every day, so I'm not going to repeat it. And I was sitting next to Dr. Anselm, who was focusing on a few scientific bits. I did my speech, which was pretty harsh in political terms. It wasn't as hard-hitting as my first speech until it got rewritten. There was a concern that it was too confrontational, and I'm like, wow, I was actually being very timid for my style, but okay. So it got like really upgraded to better political terms and better angles. And after I was done, Senator Leno said with great surprise that he had no idea that these people were so passionate and that there was such opposition to his bill, and that is not what his bill is about, and the bill does not prevent vaping in vape stores, and this is not true, and these people are misinformed, and I am going to take this to the mister who brought this to public light, and he hands me his stack of paperwork, and basically making a procedural error out of it, because he's supposed to talk to the committee, not the witnesses. He hands me his papers and he says, show me where exactly in this bill it says you can't vape in vape stores. And I turned around and I looked at him and said, because you're considering to be tobacco, you want it licensed as tobacco, because you say you can smoke in tobacco lounges, you can smoke in tobacco shops. We are not tobacco. That's the part I'm trying to tell you. And then he had to shut up because, well...
But is there licensing in the bill for vape shops?
Yes, licensing vape shops as tobacco shops. So either he didn't get my entire speech, in which I kept reiterating the point, we are not a tobacco product and we are not a big tobacco industry, and we shouldn't be licensed as tobacco shops. So, yeah, Leno tried to pull a fast one. Unfortunately, he probably misjudged me and figured I would not have an answer for that one.
The expression on your face was priceless.
Well, I had to grin at the end because I just looked at him and like, got anything more? Right?
Can we get angry Stefan bobbleheads made? That would be amazing.
Oh no,
we need that. We need that.
I want
Somebody needs to get on that and make a design right now.
Yeah, I want one on my desk.
You know, he sat there and had Stan Glantz staring him down from 5 feet away while he was talking. I'm watching this live stream, and then he has Senator Leno, a state senator, come up and try and intimidate him by handing him paperwork, just like happened to Hillary Clinton in a debate a few years back, and none of it worked. He handled it perfectly. I mean, it was just insane. I was watching, and I was biting my nails, and Stefan's looking at Glantz, and he's trying to look away and not look at him. And I was like, oh, my God, how's he going to do it? He just did amazing. I can't say enough about the job he did.
In all honesty, I really was too tired to really care about the theatrical aspect of everything. But the best part of all, the group we had there, we had about, I believe, somewhere around 130 to 150 people. And it wasn't just a bunch of vapors that we grabbed from NorCal. I mean, we're talking folks from Five Ponds, Villain Vapors, CJ the Vaping Monkey was there. I mean, literally, we had pretty much the who's who of the vaping industry in California.
Yeah, they like rented
all
them
there
to
through the anti-vaccine talk. You kept them all there through the anti-vaccine talk.
Well, we lost a few because about 86 actually went to the microphone to voice their opposition. We had lost a few people who didn't plan on being there that long or had to go back, kids, daycare, and a lot of stuff. But yeah, we kept most of the people there for that entire time. And the other best part was I was sitting up front and they were asking who here is in opposition. And I looked behind me and literally more than 3/4 of all the seats, everybody rose up. I mean, that exact moment, you see like 100 people rise up off their seats and form a line. And there were still people outside who couldn't fit in that had to join into the line. And it really blew everybody away. I mean, if anything, this is good PR because there's been people who've been saying California is voted least likely to ever get their fucking act together. Well, guess what? We've got our fucking act together.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was so inspiring. Like, the line never ended. I'm sitting watching it.
Going and going.
I know. It was amazing. And I'm thinking, and what's, I'm going to say as Safada chapter president, what Stefan did was really amazing to keep all of those people there and motivated. And that's why I'll always be Stefan's understudy.
Yeah, we need a Stefan here in Montana. I need to find a Dutchman up here that kind of
just clone him. We have the technology.
Right.
It'll take a couple years, but we have the technology. It's fine.
Actually, the best part of the day happened outside in the hallway. And
Okay, hang on. VMS is talking about Leno getting laughed at. I need to hear this story.
Oh, yes. So at some point when he was explaining that this bill doesn't do that, I don't know where these people are getting this from, blah, 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 somebody yelled out a not very kind word, and everybody started laughing, and Leno looked behind, and the committee chair basically said, find out who said that and escort them out right now.
Was it like a cough, bullshit cough kind of thing, or?
No, somebody yelled retard and then yelled douchebag, which really not appreciated. Bad form.
Yeah. There could have been better swear words than that to say.
Yeah, I know who it is because people told me who it is, and I'm going to have a talk with him because we
Well, and yeah, I mean, and that's a good point. I mean, let's talk about that really quick. If you go to a state senate meeting, if you go to a state house meeting, if you go to any sort of political avenue, there are actually rules about how you can talk, how you can't talk. Mostly, don't be a jerk. If you start throwing out attacks and things like that, you expect to be escorted out. Put simply.
Yeah, and saying something like retard just makes you sound ignorant. It's just not good for our case at all.
And here's the reality of the problem. We already knew how the votes of the committee were going to pan out, except for one. One was pretty neutral. The committee needed a majority vote to vote this bill out of committee and onto the next committee. What if that comment pissed off that one neutral vote who basically thought, you know what, you go fuck yourself, and flipped the vote to a yes vote? This one vendor could have been responsible for a whole lot of damage. So it's just a very, very bad idea to misbehave like that. It's just Yeah,
like I like people showing emotion and anger, but it's got to be controlled.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to do it in the right way.
In the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's your turn to talk, stand up. If you're in a position where you get to say things for more than just I oppose this bill, use that time. That's your time. They can't take it away from you unless you say something dumb. But that's when you can be as animated as you want, and as long as you stay mostly professional, you can pretty much say anything.
Well, I think
Can I ask Stefan a question?
Sure.
When the whole hearing started, Senator Leno seemed very intimidated when I saw him. Like when he first came up to read his opening comments, was there anything that happened just with the number of people coming in that you were going to be against?
Well, there was the number of people, plus he did a press conference thingy, I believe, earlier, and we were out front, and a lot of people actually brought signs. So he already knew from the start that all the people sitting there, because all the anti-vaxxer people moved out of the room, and all of us basically moved in. So he already had a sense of that. Plus, of course, there were a lot of not blowing smoke supporters out there.
So signs are good, then you're saying?
Yes, signs could help, but not every committee will let you carry signs in, especially if the signs have a stick, because you could take the sign off the stick and use it to
paper sign though is good for people in other states that are going to state hearings. It's good to get signs printed up that say per se, I vape, I vote, or pro vaping signs.
Oh, totally. Yes.
I'm gonna throw a little shameless plug in here for a whole bunch of people. But me and Matt and Twisted and Rockstar Vapes, and somebody else now I think all do our clothing through the same guy, vapinswag.com. Vapinswag.com, and every one of us has an I Vape I Vote shirt that all profit from that shirt goes to CASA. So nobody makes any money off that shirt. That all goes to CASA. But if you want to make the statement, you can go to any one of those stores, get that shirt, and donate a little bit of money to CASA as well.
Nice. That's cool.
That's wonderful. I love it.
I've got a little surprise for everybody.
We're working with my Vape by Vote shirts here in PA that all the proceeds are going to go to Safada.
Let's start a clothing line! Actually, I've got a little surprise for everybody. In the next hours, maybe the next day or so, there's going to be a really cool video online. And it's not the videos about not blowing smoke interviews that we did, and Spada interviews, and interviews about SB140. There's going to be a really cool video out there of John J.J. Jenkins of the Vapor Spot, and me and a bunch of my friends all the vapors and business owners who were there at SB140, because guess what? We cornered Professor Glantz in the hallway and ended up in a very nice discussion. And then his colleague, Dr. Gardner, joined, and it is marvelous material, especially Glantz never shows up at these things. You'll never see him in person, and he stays far away from vapors. I can understand now why, and I'm pretty sure we'll never see him again anywhere.
Wanted his 28 seconds of fame at this one. 28 seconds.
Oh, we're going to give him a bit more fame than that, because the hallway video, as we now call it, is masterful. He actually agrees with us that we are not big tobacco, and urges us that we should drive big tobacco out of business. However, apparently when the offer was made, then why don't we work together, he was not very interested. And his colleague Dr. Gardner actually argued that the lack of tobacco tax income that they generate in order to fund things, they need it because that is how their research is funded. And JJ immediately said, that is not our problem. So here we have their two witnesses basically being destroyed by arguments in the hallway, and they had to rush Professor Glantz out. I mean, the guy from the Cancer Society jumped in, and a few other people, and they just sort of dragged him out. I mean, it wasn't like physical or confrontational. It was just a very good debate. It's unfortunate that we couldn't keep that debate going.
Allow me to interject that it's a terrible shame that Professor Glantz, whose university received $85 million from Pfizer just a couple of years ago, and the makers of Nicoderm patches and Nicorette gum, was not required to disclose that information.
Right, yes.
At a hearing. That's astounding to me. It's astounding to me. They interrogated Stefan's friend that spoke about
it was not my... sorry.
Well, not your friend, but someone the person that testified at the table next to you.
I have no relation to that person whatsoever.
Well, the person that sat at the table and testified also on our behalf,
not on our behalf.
Well, in opposition to the bill.
Yes.
There you go.
In opposition to the bill. I've never seen him before. You've never seen him before. He showed up to testify and had good credentials, so he went up and testified. But he was interrogated on his background, yet Professor Glantz and none of his friends that were at the table were asked about their conflicts of interest. And that's a very interesting point to raise, that a lot of, we have a lot of pharma money coming in, and it's anti-us, and it's coming into state organizations for cancer, heart, and lung. And a lot of the people that are state directors of these organizations, I've learned through Greg, aren't even aware of that conflict. Really, it's a conflict at national level that they don't know about, that cancer, heart, and lung receive tens of millions of dollars from Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, and Johnson & Johnson. And it's horrible. And I don't know why, in a way, I don't know why we don't highlight that. Stefan, do you have a thought on that? Why we highlight that more?
It should be highlighted, but here's the thing. You cannot ask that question if you're sitting there rendering testimony. It should be one of the senators that asks that, which basically means you need a good relationship with one of the senators and basically feed him that line and ask them to ask that. In this committee, we really didn't have many friends, and the ones that we do have, see those empty seats there?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, that's a good thing to talk about just really quickly, too, is just because it passed out of that committee does not mean that SB 140 has passed.
Correct.
Mark Leno would have everyone...
Yeah.
Mark Leno would have everyone believe that it's passed and it's over and it's done. It's not, guys. If you're in California, you need to keep fighting these things.
Jason, hold on a second. Somebody asked, because they're not from California, they asked for the specifics of the bill. What was the bill for? What was
the bill basically, I mean, if you take out all the small details, it's basically e-cigarettes are a tobacco product, should be regulated as a tobacco product, should be licensed as a tobacco product, so no vaping in cars, even if they're not driving, if there's a minor in there, no vaping in multi-unit apartment complexes, no vaping in parks, no vaping where smoking is prohibited, licensing for shops as tobacco shops.
So they're not against vaping, but you can't vape anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of those bills that opens the door to a whole bunch of other nasty shit.
Definitely also a prelude to taxation.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they want to do is call it tobacco, because then opens the can of worms and they can do whatever they want after that.
And we sort of noticed that people weren't getting the fact that the bill only passed out of committee and it's not over yet. And trust me, we're going to be still dealing with this bill maybe in 2016 because we've got 2-year legislative session. So, I mean, there's no point in getting worried about this. We knew going in that we would not be killing that bill that day. It was simply not going to happen. We needed the political show of force in order to help us to the next step. But we were having dinner afterwards with Doug Hughes and Chelsea and Edward Wolf and Sally and Camille and the team from Local Vape and Jacob. And what happened was she started getting all these messages on Instagram about people like literally like, the sky's falling, oh God, it passed, what is it, what do we have to do now? And so she just like started updating everybody on Instagram and explaining that no, this is not what's going on, this is not what's happening.
That's what people need to understand is when you think things are going terrible, they may not be going as terrible as the biggest thing is to stay calm.
Yes.
Like if you're in Indiana tonight, maybe you don't want to be calm if you're in Indiana. Pretty bad.
Yeah, I would worry about that one.
So, I would like to exercise I'm the co-host privileges and talk about Minnesota.
Yes, go.
Do it.
We will touch on Indiana though, I promise.
Yeah.
So this week in Minnesota, I just put a link in the chat for a bill from the Senate. The House bill is identical. And this is a new bill for Minnesota that would change how taxation on e-liquid is done. Currently in Minnesota, for those of you who are not aware, we have a 95% wholesale tax on nicotine-containing liquid. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that sounds really, really awful, right? And it kind of is. But what it works out to in the end of it, when you talk about Minnesota e-liquid manufacturers, is somewhere between 15 and maybe 30 cents for a 30 ml bottle, because it's only calculated on the nicotine
milligram.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there based on the nicotine, the amount of nicotine, not the total volume of the retail package.
So they wanting to make the transition from smoking to vaping. They create the biggest transition because the people that are getting the higher nicotine that are just starting have to pay the higher tax rate.
Yeah. Well, and it's just
it's actually equal. This is the existing tax stuff. The existing tax stuff they actually snuck in 2009 or 10 before anybody really cared. So this new bill, which is Senate File 2025 and House File 2182, does something very interesting. It creates a new definition of vapor products. Vapor products, and I'm looking at the text right now, vapor products means any non-combustible product that employs a heating element, power source, electronic circuit, or other electronic, chemical, or mechanical means, regardless of shape or size, that can be used to produce vapor from a nicotine solution or other form. And it goes on and on and on, and basically it's all the shit we use to vape. Except cigalikes.
Of course. Now, are we talking about Minnesota or Minnesota? Sorry, that's my only Minnesota joke.
We're talking about Montana. So here's what this bill would do. This bill would scrap the 95% wholesale tax. The heck with that. We're not going to do that anymore. Instead, we're going to tax e-liquid at 30 cents a milliliter.
That's horrible. That's insanity.
Yep.
Is it an out-of-state, in-state thing like the 95% thing? You guys can get around it from in-state e-liquid.
It's the amount of the in-state manufacturers do okay with it because they've been under that rule the whole time, so their business model is based on it. importing out-of-state liquid, they're paying 95% tax, but there are a couple of loopholes that allow for minimal taxation to be occurring. So basically what's happening is for out-of-state e-liquid, a lot of our Minnesota companies are only paying tax on the actual nicotine content, not on the full volume of what they're bringing in. So here's the thing. On the face of it, having vapor products defined separately is a good thing. I mean, I think that's kind of what we all want. We want a fully separate definition of a vapor product. But here's the problem. Firstly, I don't know of too many devices that are measured in milliliters. I'm not sure how many milliliters my iStick 50 watt is. So that's problem number one. But for e-liquid, 30 ml bottle, that is $9 per bottle in tax. The average price of a 30 ml bottle in Minnesota right now is something around $18 to $20. Actually, Bruce, $9 per 30 ml is the cost at retail. It is approximately a 50% increase to our average retail price. It is approximately a 6,000% increase for the manufacturers.
Huh. Is it hardware and e-liquid too, Jason? Like,
well, this is what's screwy about the language, because it defines vapor products in that way. It doesn't. The tax only applies to per milliliter. So what it does effectively is it creates a 30-cent per milliliter tax on e-liquid and leaves the door gaping for additional taxation later on.
On hardware, but they don't understand that. It's because the legislators don't understand the products class that they're trying to tax.
Well, and I suspect that it could maybe be because the bill wasn't necessarily written by a legislator.
Yeah, because that sounds almost like the exact bill we had in Montana. And
yeah, so funny thing about this, where the heck is that portion of it? There's a spot in here that, interesting. There's a section in here that talks about C-store stuff, like, you know, views and Mark 10 and stuff like that. But here's what kills me about this. So earlier, was it yesterday? At the legislature, they were debating proposals to reduce the tax on cigars.
Hey, look, I've got a premium
In addition,
cigar.
right, a premium e-cigar. Here's the funny thing. That actually would still be included in the definition. They were very thorough about this, actually. With or in an electronic cigarette, electronic cigar, electronic cigarillo, electronic pipe, yeah. They got the whole 9 yards in there.
You think this came from tobacco or Clearway or?
Well, I'm thinking it may be some of our good friends who make cig-like products.
yeah,
that are perhaps current or former tobacco companies. So the other interesting thing about this is that Minnesota, actually let me just quote from the Minnesota call to action that I wrote up right before the show, because this is actually pretty funny. So the author in the House bill is a Republican, Representative Davids, and Representative Davids recently has been on a bit of a tear about the 2-year budget surplus that Minnesota is projecting right now. We are projected to have an approximately $2 billion budget surplus over the next 2 years. Cool, good for us. In a press release issued by Representative Davids about 30 days ago, there was a quote in there that says, "When you have a surplus of this magnitude, you are basically proving to the taxpayers that they paid more than they should have to state government." This is the person who is proposing to dramatically increase taxes on vaping stuff.
what a fucking hypocrite.
So that's fun. In any case, CASA issued a call to action on this earlier today. For anybody who's in Minnesota, the easiest way to do this, guys, we really need your help on this because this would absolutely destroy our businesses here, and it would kill us a lot. We need your help on this one a lot. We're going to talk later in the show about how to write your own email as opposed to some of the, CASA has some really great tools. They have this thing where they have a form email, you fill in your name, it sends it to your rep automatically. But there are times when we need people to send individual emails too, because they're going to be a little more impactful a lot of the time. So you can check out the call to action from Minnesota Vapors Advocacy at mnvapors.com. And I'm going to just drop a link in chat for anybody who happens to want to take a look at that. Please feel free to share that around. Follow the Minnesota Vapors Advocacy Facebook page, and we have that there as well. If anybody has questions or isn't sure what to do with it, and you're in Minnesota, or even if you're out of Minnesota, but if you're in Minnesota specifically, my email box is open, jason@mnvapors.com.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I drop that on the Twitter stream for not blowing smoke?
Oh, please do. Please.
Okay, there we go.
If we had like 1,000 letters coming through CASA's CQ roll call system that were all at the same address with different names, would they notice?
Possibly. I don't know. But what we're asking everyone to do right now is go ahead and follow CASA's call to action. That's important because that's going to send. The thing is, the CASA call to action is going to send an email. Yeah, it's going to send it to their rep, but it'll tag them with the individual address and who it is. But here's the more important part. Right now, both of these are in committee. The Senate bill is in the tax committee, and the House bill is, we're a little confused about this one, but it ended up in Health and Human Services, which is a little weird because it is a tax bill, right? It's not a policy bill. So we're double checking that as to what's going on specifically, and the IVRM's lobbyist is doing some work on that too. Where was I going with this?
Addresses.
Yes,
letters.
addresses. In the call to action for MNVA, what we're asking people to do is to contact the committee members directly, because we want we want a strong show of opposition for these bills to the committee.
How can someone out of state help with that?
Well, funny you should ask that, because I actually had a conversation with Will Cohen last night from VapaVet, and Will actually has just spent a bunch of time and money getting licensed to be a distributor in Minnesota.
I know, I saw that conversation. I love Will.
So Will is going to actually contact these guys too. What the heck is going on in chat here? Lost in translation? What are you guys talking about? But Will Cohen from VapaVet is actually going to be contacting these committees as well, and basically saying, "Hey guys, I run this charity that helps veterans quit smoking. This bill is going to kill my ability to do any business in your state, and will, if you pass this, it will result in veterans continuing to smoke, and you don't want that."
Awesome.
So out of state, I mean, any state level actions are always going to be most prevalent. The action needs to come, the most of it needs to come from within the state, right? Out of state, if you are a vendor that sells to anyone here, this will impact you. So if you're out of state and you do business in Minnesota, I would absolutely encourage you to contact these people too, because that's gonna affect everyone
in Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, it's I've heard people have been telling me lately how they've just been writing letters on all the CASA's call to actions to all the states, and it's like, I'm not going to tell them not to, but obviously if they don't live there.
I mean, unofficially, I would say that there are ways that you can do that would make it look like you're sort of allowed to do that.
If
I
we
will
had
not.
a comma-separated value list of all the legislators' email addresses, I particularly love to get that because technically I own a shop, so that makes me an expert on these subjects, and I like to contact them and I tell them the name of my shop. I just don't give them the address or tell them where I'm located, and I say I'm very concerned about these issues, and if anyone from Minnesota could get us actual email addresses rather than a contact form, I'd be delighted to participate in this and help you guys.
You know what, Chris? Actually, funny story. I do have a list of email addresses posted in there. I also have all the phone numbers for all the committee members.
Boom.
The one thing that I don't have, and this is where I'm gonna bitch about. I am gonna bitch about Minnesota a little bit right now, and I'm gonna bitch about the DFLers, the Democrats. And it's funny because I tend to, so full disclosure for everybody, I don't vote. I'm not a citizen yet. I am applying for citizenship this year, but I'm not a citizen yet.
I'll sponsor you.
Wow. Wait, you do realize that once you become a citizen, you inherit like this $767,000 of national debt, right?
I'll tell you what. You know what? Here's the thing. You know what's so fun? I have a plan for that, and it's called tax and spend. No. Or it's called put it on my tab. That's the American way to do it, right? Put it on my credit card. No, the DFLers in the state. So here's the deal. Every single Republican on these committees, every single one of them, has an available email address you can send directly to them. The only people who use contact forms at the state level out of these two committees are Democrats.
Go figure.
Now, I'm not going to get into the whole, left versus right thing here. I'm a left-winger on some things, and I'm like a moderate right on some others. I often describe myself in terms of like fiscal policy and things like that as a 50s style Republican.
Yeah, which is considered a liberal today.
Right. I mean, I'm still a liberal either way you look at it. I'm Canadian, guys. What do you expect? Socialism is not a dirty word to me.
All the economics from the
watch our viewers just drop by like 30 right now.
That's all right. My viewership went up. I love it.
I mean, honestly, it's terrifying to me. Just completely off topic. It is terrifying to me that I, as a Canadian who happens to live in the U.S., I know more about politics and how and all of this stuff than a lot of Americans do.
That's why they need us.
It's bad.
You're a week or what? I mean,
14 years, Chris. 14 years I've lived in the U.S. 13 and a half.
Well,
do I hear 12?
You get me emails, baby. I'm all over it.
You lost me at Canadian, man.
Yeah, fuck you, eh?
Bacon.
Here, let me fix your sensibilities here, Sean. I'll just do this. Hang on just a moment. Da-da-da-da. So, America, fuck yeah.
That was a real piece. I think that was a taser or something. Like a pellet gun.
No, that's not a pellet gun. It's a Springfield XDS.
Okay. All right. That's a legit piece.
It's a real gun.
Hey, our viewership went up.
Yes.
We're up to the roof again.
So when we put the guns on, it's all good, right? No, seriously though. Minnesota is such a weird situation right now because we have the Senate that's full of Democrats, we have the House that's full of Republicans, and it's not nearly so confrontational or useless as the federal government is right now, but it's still kind of weird.
You're the home of Michelle Bachmann and the DFL party. That's fucking weird.
Hey man, Michelle Bachmann retired.
Yeah.
Well, not fast enough, I'm afraid.
I know. Stearns County is so creepy. It's such a weird place to be.
you want to talk about Governor Ventura at this point? That was you,
No.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like Jesse Ventura, but it was
I
mostly
respect
because
him
his
as
whole
well.
opinion. Yeah, I respect. I mean, I respect him when he was governor. He's a little bit like way too conspiracy theory for my taste these days. But I respected him as governor for one reason, because his entire opinion of the media asking stupid questions was fuck off.
And he was an Navy SEAL. What's not to respect?
Thank you, VMS. That's appreciated.
What are we talking about?
Says, I tweeted about a Canadian having a gun. People wanted to come see it for themselves. Canadians are too nice to have guns.
Canadians have more guns
I
than
got
Americans.
nothing.
Just don't shoot people with them.
Actually, we don't. Handguns are actually fairly difficult to acquire in Canada.
But you got more hunting rifles and shotguns, long guns than Americans.
Maybe per capita.
Per capita.
Per capita, in terms of sheer number, you guys have us. You know, you make us look like we're running around with spitball cannons.
Yeah, I mean the gun. Oh, this is a whole. I'm just gonna put my foot in my mouth if I start talking about guns. So let's talk about Indiana. Let's talk about Indiana.
No,
Yeah.
good call. Let's move off. Let's move on and talk about something else. That said, really briefly, if you do own guns, please be responsible with them for the love of God. There's no such thing as accidents. It's if your firearm discharges by accident, 95% of the time it is negligence.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Indiana. What's going on in Indiana? Indiana's had a lot of talk over the last few weeks. HB 1432.
It's
Who wants to take this one on?
no one wants to talk about it, but I'll say that HB 1432 essentially creates a monopoly by placing a over-high restriction on licensure and regulation for every other business in the industry, and it's one company that's doing it, and it's horrific. And I talked to my lobbyist today about it in Pennsylvania that it's the worst imaginable scenario, and we can, whatever the cost, whatever the expense, whatever has to be done, we can never let that happen in Pennsylvania ever. You know.
Yeah, and just to be a little more specific about it too. I mean, some of the requirements in this bill are absolutely just astonishing. I mean, they're completely insane for this industry. Clean room requirements with very specific definition. 24-hour monitored surveillance of your clean room and storage facilities with 30 days maintained backup. Three samples.
Third-party something or other too.
Yeah.
Third-party surveillance.
Yeah, it has to be third-party surveillance, monitored surveillance. So you have to have somebody staring at a fucking monitor all night.
That's lots
And-
of doors that even pharmaceutical companies aren't required to have.
Yep,
Yeah.
and actually that reminds me too, one of the things I didn't put in my notes is that they also have to be keyed access, limited to authorized personnel, and we're talking like high security grade key stuff. We're not talking like it has a key. It has like, we're talking biometrics and swipe cards and shit like that. And then the really onerous one is that 3 samples, 10 mil samples, I believe. So it's 3 10 mil samples from every single batch of e-liquid you make must be stored
yeah.
for 3
Oh, sorry about
years from the date of manufacture.
that. In a third-party facility that you're going to have to pay for, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Probably.
You can't store it yourself.
And Bruce kind of summed it up. Bruce Nye here summed it up great. Casino level security for a vape shop.
And you know what? The best way to prevent this from happening, if you are watching this and you're in a state that something like this hasn't happened, other than Indiana, the best way to prevent it is for your vendors to become organized, hire a lobbyist, and just pay your bills. You know, pay your bills and take care of business. And you cannot let this happen, because once it starts happening, as we saw in Indiana, and the vendors in Indiana, God love them, they weren't organized to prevent something like this. And it's going to happen if you don't have. We need to start thinking about taking preventative measures on states. There's 7 other states that we've heard rumors that are and one of them is Florida. You know, that's looking at doing this, and in Kentucky, it's just unbelievable.
So, are there in that law? Was there anything about online sales as far as Indiana residents buying from, online companies in other states?
Word.
Not explicitly, but the way that the requirements are written, it would apply to out-of-state vendors as well, if I recall, if I remember correctly how this all
Yes.
works.
It's actually a little worse. There's even a clause that is very closely related to the Prop 65 stuff in California that if the Attorney General doesn't take the case in the Prop 65, you can sue as a citizen. In this case, the companies who are licensed are allowed to sue anybody who brings in out-of-state liquid.
It's
And if I recall correctly, doesn't it? I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe I'm not, but doesn't it make it a felony to import liquid if you're a consumer too?
It was something like that, yeah.
I mean, it's just
class
just
misdemeanor. I
over
think
the
it's the
top.
same as prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much vape shops are going to turn into, I mean, they're just going to have a no, if you're in Indiana, we can't ship there kind of thing on their site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's
and
horrible.
the other thing I want to staple on to Chris's statement about hiring a lobbyist. Hiring a lobbyist is great. It's a good starting point. You can't just hire a lobbyist and tell them to go.
No.
Why can't you do that? Because there are no there are no trained lobbyists in this industry.
They need to be trained, and I'm working on that issue right now in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be working with Stefan and some other people to try and get our lobbyists trained and deployed. You cannot just hire a lobbyist from the phone book and send them out there. It's a very difficult process to go through, but it's one that's necessary and it's worthwhile. Once that's through, you're good.
What I heard a really great description of what a lobbyist does, or what the pay gets you earlier today. What you're paying a lobbyist for is you're basically renting their connections.
Exactly.
These are people who live at the state capitol or live in city councils and things like that. They know so many people, and as much as I hate to say that yes, this is the reality we live in, it is. I mean, there's a lot of money in politics. We all know this. This is not a secret in the United States, right? But lobbyists are a necessary evil, I guess, is the way I would put it.
I don't think they're evil. I have a lot of lobbyist friends that I've become with, and quite frankly, allow me to be honest with you, that in the state of Pennsylvania, because I'm the president of an association that's hiring a lobbyist, I actually, by next week, am going to be a registered lobbyist in the state of Pennsylvania because of legal requirements. But lobbyists can do so much for you as far as intelligence. When something's happening that it's not public, they can get that information to you so you can prepare. And when you're facing challenges in a state, they can also help push legislation. When it has to go through the committee process, they can push it to committees that will be more friendly to you first, so the legislation can be killed.
Or they get in and talk to the committee members and explain exactly what your industry position is, because they can. They can get a meeting and say, hey, can we sit down for 20 minutes and I can walk you through this?
Yeah.
So basically,
unless you're trying to get to Senator Leno's office because he just closed up and doesn't want to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
So basically, you want to find a lobbyist that is, well, first and foremost, friends with the Speaker of the House, and then is, friends with people in the tax committees, the health committees.
Well, it's more than that, Matt. It's you need to find a lobbyist. You need to look at your state. In Pennsylvania, it's very easy because the Republicans have an 80-seat majority. So when you look at lobbyists, you're looking at people that have heavy Democratic or heavy Republican contacts lists. And here in Pennsylvania, it's not a good time to be a Democratic lobbyist. You want people who have Republican contacts because they control the legislature. The governor's house is nice, but you know what? They're not going to change legislation. They're going to put things out there, and they're not going to retract them. So it's up to the legislature. So
actually, there's a funny little stroke of irony that happened that I heard about today. It's and hopefully nobody gets mad at me for talking about this because I just think it's funny as hell. There was so I mentioned earlier that in Minnesota there was the hearings on this reducing the cigar tax. Well, the lobbyist for us here, not for Minnesota Vapors, but one of the lobbyists that works in Minnesota for vaping, actually got a call from some folks who were working on that because he actually worked on the original tax bill for the cigar stuff, and was like, hey, why did we do this again? So he actually got a call to explain to the current staffers how the cigar stuff worked while he's now working as a vapor lobbyist. I don't know. I think that's hilarious. That's my weird sense of humor, though.
That is funny.
Well, it's weird because lobbyists, everyone wants to think they're bad people, but here's your take. If you own a business, a vapor products business in a state, and you're thinking about hiring a lobbyist, you can make that lobbyist a better person by working for us because you know we're honest and we're true. We don't have to lie about what we say. We want to get our message out, and our message is the truth. So
yeah, obviously there's evil. There's more evil lobbyists out there depending on who they work for, but that's just politics. I mean, that's how.
But the thing is, it's not. But again, like what Chris is saying, that's not the person, right? I mean, individual people are fine. Like I'm sure that. Well, okay, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if you just met Mark Leno on the street. He's probably a decent guy.
I'm gonna go there.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I totally just trolled the show, but come on, you get the point. I mean, Chris is absolutely right. It's not that they're evil people, and when I say it's a necessary evil, I mean it's just something that we have to do, and it doesn't change the money in U.S. politics. It's just a thing that we have to do. But having a lobbyist is absolutely something that in this industry, because we're in such a high risk industry, it is really something that if you own a shop, you really should be considering this as a business expense.
Over a group of shops.
Over a group of shops. No, there's very few vendors that can afford a lobbyist on their own.
And I'll say, and I don't mean to say this in a disheartening fashion, but Reynolds American, who is our biggest foe, and not always, but generally our biggest foe in the vapor products category, will spend $250 million, billion with a B, lobbying this year in the United States. And the reason that we technically are an advantage to them is because that $250 million they will spend will be on offensive. They're trying to produce legislation that will hurt us, and it's much, much, much cheaper and easier for us to throw a monkey wrench in their plans from where we stand. So the amount of we don't need to match that money at all, but we have to be in the game, So everyone that's out there, and I'll say something else that I've learned this week that's very important. If you are sitting someplace anywhere in the United States and you own a vapor product shop, please, for God's sake, contact your elected officials at state level. Don't wait until something's going on. Establish a relationship with them. Go in and be charming. And if they're against your products, be even more charming and establish a relationship with them. Not everyone comes along to the idea of tobacco harm reduction at the same pace. Somebody may be against you this week, and as you establish a relationship with them, go back and visit them again and again, they'll become your ally and your friend. So you can't go in and scream at legislators and go in and be professional, dress like you're going to the best job interview you've ever had in your life, and show them respect by that. And just make friends with these people, the legislators. We have to do that. It's so imperative.
Well, God, I forget what I was going to... Yeah, it's easier to kill a bill than to pass a bill, obviously. But a lot of these vape shops need some persuasion, and that's where the consumers come in. I mean, hold their feet to the fire. If they're not doing anything, don't give them your money.
And we actually talked about offensive versus defensive last show too. Actually, it wasn't like its own topic, but it just to recap on that really quickly, it is far easier and far cheaper to kill a bill than it is to pass one.
Yeah.
That's true.
And if you look at the hearing we had for Bill AB 768, which was the day before SB140, our lobbyists basically echoed a few words about taking out vapor products in a baseball-related anti-tobacco, anti-chew, anti-smoking bill, basically banning tobacco products from baseball games. Our problem is that it had a tobacco definition for e-cigs we didn't like. So our lobbyists basically explained, well, we don't like that. We want that stricken. We want 4B out of there. And we had the lobbyist of NJOY who did a wonderful job, made a few jokes about his bald head and stating for a fact that he has a full head of hair doesn't make it true. And at the end of his speech basically said, and if we don't get it, we seek to kill this bill.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the committee knew exactly what was going on. So a lobbyist can issue a warning like that, which
A warning. I like how you put that. It's a warning.
it's a warning of what sort of political actions are going to be taken in order to accomplish a certain goal.
Here's something to think about. If you live in a state and you own a shop that does not have a lobbyist, all the information that your legislator has about e-cigarettes, and I was told this by my state senator this week, who's very experienced, is all of the information he has is from TV, and that's the worst imaginable thing. But even worse than that is that all the information he has comes from a fact sheet from Reynolds American or from the American Cancer Society. That's why we need to take things in and do a show and tell. My state senator was delighted, and if you own a vapor shop or any small business, even if you vape and you own a body shop, go in and see him, because the fact that you own a small business in his district gets you 3/4 of the way to VIP status. They want to talk to you. They want to hear what you have to say. You're creating jobs. You're contributing to the economy. And if you're just a consumer, also, same thing. Go in and see your legislator. Try and make an appointment to go in and see him. Maybe even in a group if you're intimidated to go by yourself. But these contacts are so important. I can't stress that enough.
Right. The other thing that needs stressing is that don't focus on just the lobbying part. The PR part is also important, because I've been reading reports the past few months that show the amount of money spent by huge corporate interests on PR is now exceeding the amount that they're spending on lobbying. So there's been this, like, lobbying money is going down and PR money is going up sort of curve that's been happening. And the one thing we really all need throughout the nation is better PR to combat all the bullshit out there.
Well, and some of the PR is going and talking to them. If you're good at telling jokes, tell your legislator a joke and be a person with them. Don't go in stiff and nervous. And I found throughout my life, because I was a dork when I was growing up a million years ago, that if you make people laugh, they love you.
However, from personal experience, do not go up to a senator and say, "You heard the one about the senator and the dead hooker?"
No.
Don't do that one.
No, that's not a good one. Don't joke about them. Joke about outside. Stefan is always right on that.
Well, like I've said this in a few videos too, but like there's obviously different parts to a successful movement, you know, like the lobbyist side of it, and schmoozing and all that stuff is a big thing. But then we still do need a strong grassroots, people that are loud, and these politicians need to know that we're not going away, And sometimes I think we focus too much on one thing and not enough on the other. It's not just about kissing ass. Once they close the doors on us, we need to show our numbers and show that we can possibly sway the vote or do something to make them feel uncomfortable.
That's what Matt said there. If you own a shop, there's things that you can't say. You can't make health claims. You can't make cessation claims. And your consumers can do that. And if you have a vapor products business in 2015, why wouldn't you be motivating your consumers to get involved and defend the right to vape and their access to these products? It's so important, because consumers can go in. or like Will Cohen that Jason was talking about earlier is fantastic because he owns a nonprofit that provides devices to disabled veterans. People like that, if you have something to contribute, please, if you need to talk to someone about it, talk to someone about it and get some advice on going in and talking to them. But your voice is so much more powerful than you think at this point. It can be so much more powerful, and people can help you with that. So,
absolutely. Just especially when you get a lot of voices together. The more voices that you have, the more people who are willing to speak and be there and show up. Like there's a lot of power in numbers. That scares people. Numbers scare people.
Votes and dollar signs.
Yep.
Votes and dollar signs.
And here's the thing. One of the things that I've highlighted, somewhat recently is, we had a county level public use ban that went in, and it was one of those, like, it was for sure going to pass for the most part because it's the largest county in the state. It has two of the most populous cities in the state, and both of those cities had already passed a public use ban. We were probably going to lose, but we didn't act like we were going to lose. We acted like we were going to go in and oppose it strong, like we do with everything else. I believe that counting the email that I sent on behalf of MNVA, I think we had 6 that were on record.
We need more people than that. We need bodies and chairs and bodies.
6 emails is probably enough if your town is about 500 people.
Right.
Yeah.
If your town is 50,000 people, you're going to need more than that. And that's I think one of the reasons that we all try to get people engaged and involved. And I still want to talk about sending emails before we close out for the night. But if we can get 200, 300, 400 emails, and guys, that should be possible in almost any state. In theory, it should be possible. In Minnesota, for sure, it's possible. In California, that should be like your low end.
Mm-hmm.
In Minnesota, if we got 150 emails sent to the Capitol, or a couple dozen every single time we posted a city-level call to action, I would be overjoyed. I mean, that would be like victory for me. If we got 100 emails to 12 or 13 senators or House reps on a committee, that is going to get you noticed. 100, 200 more emails. That's the kind of thing that's going to get noticed. That and phone calls.
Right.
Exactly what Jason's saying, but also 10 phone calls to a legislator's office in 48 hours will not just get them motivated, it will set their hair on fire. If you call and be registered to vote, particularly, be registered to vote and make a call to your legislator's office. Get 9 of your friends. Certainly you have 9 friends that vape. Get 9 of them. Sit there and call them from the same phone, one right after the other. 10 calls will set their hair on fire, and that's the truth.
Right, it's a volume thing. I mean, imagine most of these places having a certain amount of white noise. There's always noise and stuff going on. There's always calls and letters from people who are like either homeowners associations or whatever is going on, or save the whales.
This is in California.
Right, yeah. So what you need is enough phone calls, enough letters to make sure that you stick out of the white noise so they hear you. So, yeah, the more you can get in, the better. So
long story short, squeaky wheel gets the grease, please squeak louder.
Yes!
Pretend while you're doing it. Always
pretend you're a hamster in a Kia ad and just start squeaking away.
We're not talking about voting that much this year because it's not an election year. Well, a major election year. But I mean, these state elections next year are going to be a big thing that we need to bring to the forefront, because that's where we show our numbers, and that's where we actually can prove ourselves in those elections.
But they're all prepping now, right? They're keeping track of all of this now. They're getting ready.
Yeah.
So you let
Definitely.
them know how important vaping is to you as a person.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and let's not forget, always refer to what we did in New Mexico. We have shown vapors can be a wedge issue. If there is a close race going on, show the New Mexico case and say, do you want vapors to be a wedge issue and lose you the election?
Conrad Johnson.
Yes.
The letters that I've written, when I've brought that up, and the wedge issue and swing, when I say, hey, I've always voted Democrat and I'm prepared to vote Republican, that's when I get the most response from. It's not when I say, well, I had cancer and it saved my life and God, I feel I can breathe and I can run. They don't really give a shit.
Correct.
Their jobs.
I'm prepared to not vote for you over this, though.
Exactly. That's what they need to hear. In a respectful way.
Yeah. And something else, to augment what Matt says, it's always nice to send an email or to call, but, all of these people have district offices, and many of them will be happy to sit down and meet with you. Most of them resemble human beings, believe it or not, politicians, and if you're sitting there and you make an impassioned case and you're friendly to them, they will want to help you. Especially if you can make a particularly compelling case, from a business standpoint if you're a business owner, or from a health standpoint if you're a consumer.
And especially at the state level. I mean, that's like I actually had an opportunity recently, and this is again where a lobbyist comes in handy. I, as the head of the consumer organization, had a chance to go and meet with a couple. Like one of them was the author of a House bill that was anti-vaping. That was a meeting that was set up by the lobbyist, and he invited a couple of us along to come and hang out at the Capitol and meet a couple of people.
Did your hand shake, Jason?
Nope, I was all good.
My hand shook when I went to Erie County in New York and Buffalo and met with a guy that pushed a countywide use ban. He actually agreed to meet with my friend Andy from Vapor Trail, Andrew Osborne, and myself. Yep. We went into his office for half an hour, and he sat there yammering on, and my hands just shook. And I could see him looking at my hand. But by the next time I came back, the following week, I was telling him how beautiful the architecture was in Buffalo and how much I loved it. And he said that when the whole thing was over, he wanted me to come up and contact him and take me on a tour of Buffalo. And I was worried about that, and I contacted someone, and they said, no, that's actually great. So...
That is political speak for I'm going to bury you. It's all code words, right?
The little guy. I take him down to the edge of the river,
darn! Now we
would be worried about it.
Hang on.
Just the lobbyists that we need to train. Now we need to train our SPADA chapter leaders. Damn it!
I have to address something in chat here because this is right up my alley. Please do not make I vote signs. Please don't do that.
That's my next t-shirt.
Actually, you know what? No, you know what? Make me one, because that would be great, and send it to me.
Is this I vote? I want one.
Yeah.
Okay, then make two.
I'm working on the t-shirt art right as we speak.
Excellent. But no, I mean, this
needs to realize that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So you're hitting up Cloudy to make the shirt for you?
Yeah, fuck off. People need. Yeah, I think a lot of us, we're jaded by politics, and we feel like our voice doesn't make a difference. And on a national level, most of the time it doesn't. But in these state issues, like these races can be really close, and a good amount of vapors coming out to vote can absolutely sway the vote. I mean, like,
oh yeah,
the lady that had the worst bill. She's a Democrat from Missoula and in Montana here, and she only won by 30 votes last time. So I mean, it's close,
Something I found that was very interesting is, if you guys think about it, if everyone watching thinks about it, homeschoolers. I don't agree with homeschoolers. I think that's kind of strange. If you do, I don't mean any offense to you, but I think it's odd. But there are 5 to 6 times as many vapors in the U.S. right now as homeschoolers. But homeschoolers have political clout. Politicians at the state, national level are terrified of them. Why don't we elicit that same terror in politicians? We need to organize and talk to them and have a good time doing it. You don't have to be it's not the end of the world every day. Let's just have a fun time doing it and engage people and bring them along to our way of thinking.
Well, that's where we need to be better organized too.
Well, and you know what sucks? Losing sucks, right? We all can agree that losing sucks.
Yeah.
Winning is fun, right? when we get a couple of wins, that's pretty fun. One of the things that I saw recently that just blew my mind was the city of Spring Lake Park, Minnesota wants to actually redefine things in our favor.
I saw that tonight. That's amazing. They want to block, a legislator wants to block use bans. Is that the one you're talking about, Jason?
Yep, for sure.
Amazing.
And here's the really crazy part. I don't know if the shops have had a whole lot of involvement in this. I know there is a shop in that city, and I know that they are active in their own right. They're not currently a member of the Minnesota vendor organization, but they have done some work in advocacy, at least on to their own ends. And like Minnesota Vapors Advocacy, we haven't really done anything in that city, to be honest with you. This is from outside looking in, it's kind of out of the blue. And that's a great thing. We have a city that wants to help us, or wants to at least say, hey, yeah, you know what, you're right. This stuff is better than smoking, and let's recognize that. But it's kind of what we touched on last time, too. This can be fun, and we want to try and make it more fun for more people.
Well, there's a distinct feeling of wonderment when you go to a meeting, or when you have a good conversation, or when you start to drive your point home, and when when you get that email that, hey, this bill is not happening, there's this distinct feeling of achievement from you, being like, I helped fucking save this.
Oh yeah,
I did that.
The last one in Montana, we were 2 hours into our 5-hour drive and got the call, hey, they just tabled the bill, and it was just like, ooh, fuck yeah, party time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I remember that. I remember that night. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, and that's fantastic when you have stuff like that, or even even if something as simple as you go and testify or speak at a city council hearing or a state meeting or whatever else, and it's all you're doing is getting out there and saying, this is my opinion and I would like you to listen to it. At the end of the day, you still did something, and even if you don't necessarily even if you don't necessarily win in that particular fight, you still did something. You sent a message that you're a voter and that they probably are not going to count on your vote next time.
Well, the thing that I think a lot of people forget, and you brought it up a little bit earlier, having 100 people out at a town hall meeting or a council meeting like this is amazing. Because people generally are a little on the apathetic side with stuff. They have to really care to call off work and get up and go to a meeting like this. So when 100 people show up at a boring council meeting and sit for 4 hours until they get to the issue that they care about, that's impressive. That scares people. There's a level of fear of, oh fuck, these people really care about what they're here for.
We did that in Bloomington. It was a very similar situation to what they just did in California yesterday. We all sat for 3 hours while they talked about exterior signage on Mall of America before they talked about vaping. Even with that, our attrition was so low through that time. The only people who left were people with kids that absolutely had to leave. At the end of it, when we started the vaping portion of that city council hearing, we had more than 50 vapors at a city council meeting.
Amazing.
And it had been sitting there for 3 hours. Yep. And you know what? It sent one hell of a message to other cities, because one of our northern suburbs, it's actually the city that Luke lives in, they did a work session recently, and the work session was to kind of clarify. They had a proposed ordinance amendment out there, and it sounds like it had kind of been brought to them by staff. Nobody on council actually really cared. But one of the statements that was reported back from those who were in attendance was one of the, I believe, and Luke, if you're still in here, I assume you are, but correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it the mayor who said something like, well, we don't want to end up like Bloomington?
Yeah.
The biggest problem with advocacy is that it's a concept that is very hard to sell to people, and I've noticed that the only way to be truthful and honest with people and getting them in is by showing them what it's like. And yes, you are sitting there 3 hours, 4 hours, and you're bored out of your skull. But at the same time, we're also the big chick magnets.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Stefan, quit bragging about getting vape models.
Don't let- don't let-
Damn it.
I'm trying to give it a sales angle here.
It's
all about
say
Camille.
that I'll never be allowed to go to another town council meeting.
Did you just say that to see who was awake? Because I was like reading chat. That did not go the way I thought it was going.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I want to touch. I know I said we would get to it, and I know we've really kind of gone. You know, we kind of run the gamut for tonight, and we'll, we're gonna do that, deal with it. But I want to touch on the concept of writing emails because, as I mentioned on the first show, and I've said it repeatedly in public venues and online and all this, the most common thing that I hear when I'm trying to get somebody involved is, I don't know what to write. So let's talk about that. What do you need? What do you need to write? Well, the biggest thing is, I know for Minnesota anyway, MNVA, we try very hard, and I write most of the calls to action. I try hard to put really simple talking points in that you could if you really wanted to, you can copy and paste it in there. At the most basic level, your email to your rep or your city council member or whomever, at a very basic level, what you need to say is, my name is whatever your name, my name is Jason Downing. I'm writing to you as a resident of wherever. I want you to oppose this bill because it sucks. Even that is better than doing nothing.
Agreed.
You could literally write an email that just has the title of the bill or the ordinance amendment or whatever in the subject line. Please oppose this because I don't want this. I am a resident of your city. I live here. Don't do this.
But I think there are certain things that are important to hit on, and one of the things that I tell people when they're writing or when they're going somewhere is I always like to mention somewhere in there the business angle. I always like to mention that I frequent X number of businesses that exist within this state or this town, and I give my money to X number of businesses that if this bill passes, I won't be able to. They're employing people, they're paying taxes. This is all things that are growing the economy in the state, and that's something that representatives tend to listen to very well. I mean, your story is a good start, but hitting them in the pocketbook, they listen.
Small businesses, they love to hear about small businesses. Or
I
medium.
go to X number of small businesses every week. I spend money at these small businesses, which ensures that these people stay employed, which ensures that taxes continue to get paid, and we continue to grow an up-and-coming industry that could then boom and make more money for this state or for this town. That's a big thing that a lot of people, at least around here, don't ever mention, and they forget to mention.
Wouldn't you rather be doing that than a Sudoku puzzle? Doesn't it sound like more fun? I mean, what the hell?
I think it depends. Like Jason said, something is better than nothing, no matter what. Well, as long as you don't say something like you're a retard, like that one guy did. But I think there's not a one-size-fits-all letter. Different people react to different things, and so sometimes you kind of can start out soft and maybe kiss a little ass and be nice, and a few of the committee members might write you back, and you might be able to have some a conversation back and forth. But if I don't hear back from a few of them, then you want to do that kind of respectful, controlled, stern anger kind of thing, to where you do start talking about votes, and you'd start talking about the nitty-gritty stuff. So I don't know. I mean, it's just I think start out nice and then get more and more serious.
Well, if you're talking about a tax issue, if you're writing about a tax issue, tell them that you don't feel like you should be penalized for trying to smoke less cigarettes. If you're a consumer or you are a vendor, that's okay to say that. Tell them, if you're talking about a use ban, that you don't feel it's fair for the state to come in and do something when there's not decided scientific evidence on it. And you're infringing on the rights of businesses to set their own policies. I mean, you have to play to whatever it is, and it's good to involve your own story and tell them in part of the email that I stopped smoking because of vapor products. That's great, but always make sure you include some information about whatever the specific issue is that you're trying to prevent.
Right, and one thing to keep in mind is something came up a little while ago. Somebody said, why would they care about small businesses because they're small? Well, keep in mind, small businesses bring in most of the tax money because all the large corporations, they have ways to minimize their tax to really nothing. So it is the small business, and you know what? Legislators know that.
It's also, I mean, let's be honest, it's also just the perfect pro-America talking point. It's the perfect, I support small business. It's a very American idea. It's a very big idea here that legislators want to promote, because by going out there for the small business, people love that.
Yes.
They're terrified of being at anything that could portray them. Legislators are terrified of being portrayed as anything but incredibly in favor of small business. They would rather go with news cameras to a Klan rally than be accused of being against small business.
Mm-hmm.
So,
guess what's going to happen to the governor in Indiana now?
Yeah,
and that was
exactly that.
And that was exactly what we did to Bloomington afterwards. Is my girlfriend actually, when she was out with a friend of hers, ran into the mayor of Bloomington.
Yeah.
And
with her car?
Huh?
With her car?
No.
Oh, damn it!
Stop. Just speak it. Never mind. I'll talk to you about that later. No, she ran into the mayor of Bloomington at a Starbucks or Caribou, some coffee shop that she was at with a friend of hers, and my girlfriend runs a very small business where she makes costumes, and she's trying to turn it into her full-time job, and the mayor, they had a short conversation about it, and he says, well, have you ever thought about opening up shop in Bloomington? And she said, absolutely not. What? Why? Well, because I was at this hearing. I spent 3 hours sitting here while you guys pissed and moaned about Mall of America, and what you did afterwards was send the strongest message you possibly could that if we don't like your small business, we're going to take steps to shut you down. How do you think a politician feels about that one?
Sometimes it's good to enlist bigger businesses like Mall of America. I know after what happened in Bloomington, I sent an email to Mall of America, who I assume has a lot of juice in Bloomington, and I said that I was planning a trip to the Midwest, and I would not be visiting their business because the Bloomington City Council specifically passed a law that would affect small business, and I wouldn't feel right patronizing a large business like the Mall of America while I was there. And I don't know if I got any play out of it, but sometimes.
Well, and especially because Mall of America was fully supportive of that too. They were pushing for it.
Pricks.
Yes, and critical actually brings up a really, really good point too. Do not start your email with "Dear douchebag." That's a bad idea.
Remember, it's important to remember that at least in a lot of senses, when we as vapors send emails to representatives and go to town hall hearings and do that stuff, that we are then representing the movement of vaping as a whole.
Absolutely.
So I ask for a certain level of professionality when you do it. I mean, jeans and a button-down shirt, jeans and a polo is fine, but relatively decent clothes, relatively, well statement. Don't be a complete dick. Don't blow clouds in the city hall.
Don't ever vape at City Hall.
Yes. Don't. Well, and more importantly, don't vape while you're in there.
Yeah.
But, you know, when,
Well, I
when you
think there's-
go, you are a representative of the movement that we're all part of.
There's a time and a place for everything. With these hearings, you got to be respectful. Now in Indiana, they all should go chain themselves to the fucking to the Capitol.
And
I
there's
don't know.
Go chain yourself to the closest casino.
I don't think we have enough angry activism, as I've said
Well,
before. We could talk about being soft, and being nice, but that just only gets you so far.
Point that Matt makes is very critical. There is a time to be nice, and the time to be nice is almost always. And at some point, there comes a time for action. And right now in Indiana, Matt's absolutely right. Chain yourself to the goddamn fence time. And I don't know what you do. Not the fence. Chain yourself to the pence in Indiana is what Mike Pence is the governor. And there. It take a lot for you to consider somebody to be a lost cause as a
Chris, hang on a sec. Hang on.
Somebody in chat said not a T-shirt that says "fuck the FDA," and here's the thing about that. To us, that means something. To them, the people that we want to rule in some favor to us, it means that we're attacking them.
Yes.
You attack the people that we want to rule in favor of us, they're much less likely to rule in favor of us.
Right, but also don't be too kind. So do not send the FDA any comments that are signed "Love Steve."
Yeah.
I love your work.
However, it is perfectly acceptable for a good time. Call Stefan Didak at. That's
If anyone PMs me, I'll provide you with that number.
If you vote in our favor, Stefan will bring you vape models.
Hey, wait, no. Greg Conley has actually offered hand jobs for legislation that just like.
No, wait a minute. I was there. He was only offering that to John Boehner.
Oh, so that was an open off? Darn.
It wasn't anyone. It was specific to John Boehner. I would give John Boehner a hand job for
Okay, so let me give Senator Leno a call real quick then. Hello, you guys. Sorry.
No, but I mean, so in terms of for those of you who are in states that have a state advocacy organization, we talked about this last episode that you don't necessarily need to be 100% up to speed on every last little nuance and everything. Your state organizations are going to do a lot of that work for you and give you here's the distilled version, right? Of here is this huge, big, complex bill. Here's what it really does, and here are the points you can use to talk against it. And those are the things that you need to put in your emails. That and as everyone else has mentioned, come right out and say, this is an issue that I care very strongly about, and it will heavily influence my vote in the future.
Yep.
And maybe we should have shirts that have an arrow on it that says "I'm with another voter."
Yeah, that's good.
I'm with Stefan Didak.
Wait a minute. I'll fight you for that. I'm with him.
In May, you gotta wear one of those shirts when Zeller's up there.
No, I'm gonna be wearing the best suit that I have when Zeller's up there and the best tie I have. I'm gonna actually buy a special tie for the day that I have to come be with Zeller, and it's gonna be it's gonna have to be Bill Godshall spittle proof because I think he's gonna probably be sitting right next to me.
Okay, I'll send you a message a day before you leave to remind you to bring the right belt.
Would this be a bad time to ask you guys what you think about this new Altria website, or are you going to save that for another show?
I've only just seen it today quickly on my phone, and Altria is trying very hard to be on our side, and you know what? A lot of the time they actually are.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird, but that's politically how it. Yeah.
Here's the one thing I will say about that site, though. I spent about 2.5 minutes on it earlier today. I looked up Minnesota. And the information that they have on the tax situation in Minnesota is completely wrong.
Oh.
It is completely wrong. the site references a 95% tax on everything, and it's not. It's wholesale on e-liquid.
Right.
I mean, there's serious factual errors. At least, I mean, that one is a huge one to me. And if it's like that for Minnesota, I have to assume that there are factual errors in other places too.
I haven't looked at PA yet, but I think that Stefan raises a great point that Altria is not always against us. In fact, usually they're more on our side than against us as far as tobacco companies go. They are still a tobacco company. I don't really trust them, but.
Well, exactly. That's what I was trying to explain that to people in the CASA group today, and it's like there's a fine line there. You don't want to act like you're supporting big tobacco, but the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And right now, they are helping in some issues. I know they helped in Montana, and yeah, they obviously have their own greedy agenda, but it just so happens to be aligning with ours right now. So might as well milk the big tobacco teat while we can.
Yeah, and
the other thing that most people
do that R10 review today.
The other thing most people don't get is that a lot of times it's the big tobacco companies fighting each other with legislation,
Exactly.
and we're in the middle of all that. So we sort of get to.
And it's not just big tobacco that's our huge problem. Pharma is a huge problem too.
The worst.
Pharma
Yes.
arguably significantly worse than tobacco.
Yes.
Because they always use surrogates. They never do anything themselves. They use cancer, heart, lung, Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights,
Mm-hmm.
Clearway, Minnesota, in Jason's territory. They're horrible.
And pharma doesn't have the negative associations that tobacco has.
Which honestly, here's the thing about that. This is why every single fucking opportunity I get, I talk about Chantix and why it's so terrible.
Yep. We did on Monday, and somebody told us not to make light of the suicide issue, and we said we weren't joking. That happens on Chantix.
Yes. Exactly.
That's a real.
Yeah, I saw that replay, and I was really upset at it. And I didn't watch it live. I caught the replay, but yeah, I saw Mass talking about that, and just like, no, we're not joking, guys. Like, people have killed themselves because all that was wrong with them is they were trying to quit smoking, and they used Chantix.
We've seen the reviews of Views and Mark 10. Who's going to do the review of Chantix? Not me.
I'm not touching it.
You're right. I mean, you're never going to see that happening. That's a bad idea.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, have you ever noticed
It
that?
was a joke. It was a joke. I want to say that.
Have you ever noticed that there's no like Chantix user groups where people get together and let's pop some Chantix?
Yeah.
What are you trying? Are you trying to like recreate the fucking moon cult now?
Hey, Stefan is in
Come
California.
on.
They were in California.
So is that about the scope of topics this evening?
I would say so. I think we are well and truly in on this one, and I want to thank everybody for sticking it out with us. I mean, we've still got 40, 50 people watching, and I want to thank everybody very, very much for sticking around for that long. Just think though, if you can make it through us talking about bullshit for 2 hours. And it's not bullshit, it's important, right? But if you can make it through us talking for 2 hours, I guarantee you can make it through a city council meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing is, you're not just sitting there doing nothing. You're roaming around. You're talking to friends and folks you haven't met before. And you're constantly texting each other. It's not just like sitting there shutting up and like.
Yeah. And I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but for people who might not have been in here earlier, this show will be moving to Tuesdays starting next show.
Hey, we probably should have mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Oops. Yes.
So, Inside Vaping is moving to a bi-weekly schedule, and Attainable Advocacy is going to move over to Tuesdays and fill in bi-weekly with both of those guys, or with Inside Vaping. So Tuesday is Advocacy Day at the home page, and it will always be one of the two advocacy shows.
So Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time.
That's somewhat important, I figure.
Yes.
If
That's very
you
important.
forget which is which, you can watch either show. We won't be offended. It's fine. We're funnier than they are, though.
I but James is funny.
James does have a better beard than all of you, though.
That's true. Everybody has a better beard than Stefan and I. Come on, Jesus.
I have a better beard.
Matt doesn't have a better beard.
No, I don't. And if you're in Indiana, find some dirt to blackmail Pence with. That's just find his gay boyfriend. That's your best option.
Or the dead hooker. Both of them.
Yeah, dead hookers, gay boyfriends, meth dealer.
Yes.
I think now we're probably at about the time to end the show.
Yeah.
I would say that is correct.
Matt,
When we start trying to make people look like Rob Ford, it's time. When we start trying to make people look like Rob Ford, it's time to go.
Before we go, let me praise Stefan for the job he did this week, and Jason for the job he's doing every day in Minnesota, and understudy from the Plumes of Hazard, and Matt and Grim and Ruby Roo for all the stuff they've been doing on reviews this week, because it's amazing. As someone that's been working for 2 years in advocacy, when I see that, it just makes me, it's incredible to me. I can't even say it enough.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate.
Yeah, guys, if you're in Pennsylvania, Chris, where's your shop at? You're in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Williamsport, Pennsylvania, the home of Little League Baseball.
What's your shop? What's the name of your shop?
Fat Cat Vapor Shop.
Because when I come up to visit my family, I'll try to stop by.
I want you to come by, man.
I will definitely try.
Yeah, if you're in the area, go if you're in the area, go check out Chris's shop. Obviously, check out Matt on Suck My Mod on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to him, do that. If you want to see more of Understudy over here, you can check him out with the other guys from Plumes of Hazard Monday nights at what?
And Mondays at 9, and the other 3 hosts are much more interesting than me.
Oh my God.
Except for Fubaka, he's just kind of there.
The other 3 hosts are significantly more interesting.
Are you waiting for us to disagree with you? No,
not at all. I'm being serious. I book the guests and shit. That's what I do. That's my job.
You hold shit down, bro.
Everybody else is.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in tonight. We really appreciate it, and we'll, as Sean said, we're going to move to Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock every other week. So our next show will be on April 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks again for tuning in for a tunable ad. Tunable. Hello, this is Attainable Advocacy. Thank you for joining the show. No, Attainable Advocacy is us. I'm Jason Downing. Stefan Didak is my co-host. And Chris, Matt, and Sean, thank you guys so much for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate it. We'll have you back at some point as well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, and go get active.
Hit the dead button, and then I'm going to go pee.